The recent security situation in the world has pushed various countries to create and adopt security regulation for different spheres and different products. One such regulation is Cyber Resilience Act. It is relatively new European Union regulation that came into force in December 2024, and it applies in full in December 2027. In simple terms, it sets some kind of mandatory cybersecurity rules for pretty much anything with digital elements sold in the European Union market, starting from smartwatches and baby monitors to operation system and industrial software and hardware. Just so you know who are talking at you, my name is Tsivyna, and I'm Information Security and AI Manager at STAR with nearly 14 years of experience in quality assurance and information security. I'm working in regulatory consulting, where I mostly focus on supporting our clients to apply different standards and regulations, control of this regulation, and successfully place the products on the market. At the moment of speaking, the Cyber Resilience Act, or CRA, has about 81 pages of information, so I tried to tailor some general aspects and the most questionable parts in this presentation. So we'll talk about why CRA even exists, when we'll get into applicability, which is really the first question everybody asks, like, does this particular product apply to the scope of CRA at all? After, we'll look at the risk classification, because not every product is treated as the same way, and conformity assessment process will be different for different products. Then we'll get a bit more practical, like essential requirements, cybersecurity requirements that the manufacturer have to meet. What documentation need to be created, like SBOM and CE marking, and finally the timeline that actually dates you probably need to have in your calendar. Now, why did the European Union actually create this kind of regulation? The honest answer is that our digital world go ahead of the rules. Then, since how many concrete products are placed in your home right now, it may be coffee machine, smartwatch, or even fridge that connected to a network or your phone. So most of them were now designed with security as a priority, and worse, many never received a single security updates after you bought it. So adding here the overwhelming capabilities of such devices as access to cameras, microphones, and networks, all of this poses significant security and privacy risk. So you could ship a smart camera with some kind of hard-coded default passwords like 1234, and legally before the CRA that was completely fine. So on top of that, the rules that did exist were a mess. Every country was doing its own thing. So if you are a manufacturer trying to sell across the Europe, you're dealing with the confusion in different national laws, compliance requirements and different standards. So the general idea of the CRA is really quite straightforward. First, make manufacturers responsible for security across the entire life cycle of the products, including post-market support. And the second creates one consistent standard across the whole European market for digital devices. So the CRA regulation is related and applicable to product with digital elements, and it applies basically to any hardware or software that has direct or indirect connection to any other device or network. As for the date, the Act was officially published December 10th, 2024, and the next big date is September 11, 2026. That's a reporting deadline. So starting from that point, affected parties have to report actively exploited vulnerabilities and severe incidents to authorities. So this is the first required control even before the full compliance kicks in. And December 11th, 2027, that's the full compliance deadline. By the date, every in-scope product that goes on the market has to fully comply with the CRA. So the deadline is much closer than everyone thinks. End of 2027 sounds far away. It's about 1.5 years from the moment of speaking. But if you have ever been though with compliance project, you know it is not. So building a security, gathering documentation, getting third-party assessment, a record of this evidence and records, that takes time. And the company should start thinking now about this implementation. Okay, so the first real question everybody has, does this actually apply to my product? Let's talk about what is in the scope. The definition of product with digital element is software or hardware that connects to another device or network directly or indirectly, including its component placed on the market separately. And well, to make it concrete, what we are talking about, that's smartwatches, smart toys, industrial sensors and controllers that have access to other device or connected to other device on the network. Any kind of security, identity products, of course, network and infrastructure equipment, all of this in the scope. From the software part, it's operation system, SDKs, installable software application, even mobile application are in the scope as well. So as you can see, it's a very wide net, and but there is a exception as usual. What is out of scope is medical device. Those are under MDR or IVDR frameworks. Aviation and automotive embedded system, marine products and vessels, national security and non-commercial open source software. So the logic here is that these are already covered by their own dedicated regulations. So the CRA steps back to avoid double regulation of them. In practice, those out-of-scope regulation may be even more harder and stricter than CRA does. So, and here one spoiler for legacy devices, product you already released before the CRA come into force, they are also in the scope of CRA, practically related to vulnerability management and incident reporting. So this regulation is not only about new products. If you got older connected device still on the market, they are part of this conversation as well. The CRA defines a process of conformity assessment for specific products. So after 2027, any product with digital device that placed on the European market should have this CE mark, which is conformity assessment. And basically it's different based on the product risk category. It defines, CRA defines 4 product risk classes. At the bottom, you've got a default category, and this is big one. I would say that roughly 90% of the products land here. So smart devices, video games, connected kitchen tools, smart toys, and other general purpose stuff that does not have security critical functions are in this scope. For this category, you can basically do a self-assessment. So you can document the security practice, you keep a software bill of material, handle vulnerability properly. Basically, you are liable for the claims you make. So you don't need to have an outside or third-party assessment process here. Then you step up to important class 1. This is the products related to this category is like identity system, browsers, password management, managers, antivirus, network interfaces, operating systems. So in general, that are the things that, if compromised, that could do a real user's damage. For this, you follow the harmonized standard, and if you do, self-assessment is still applicable. But if the relevant standards don't exist for your type of products, I mean harmonized standards, then in this case, third-party assessment becomes mandatory. The next one is important, class 2, and here we are talking about dedicated devices, products that has some kind of security related features. And I'm talking about hypervisors, container runtimes, firewalls, different intrusion detection system, intrusion prevention system. It may be tamper-resistant microprocessor and microcontrollers. So for those products, third-party conformity assessment is mandatory. There are no more self-assessment road here. You should go through the full design and documentation audit with notified bodies. And the last one is critical products. It includes hardware security models, smart meter gateways, smart cards, specific secure elements, and so on. They're subject to stricter regulatory requirements, including oversight by national authorities, cybersecurity certification, and even government approval audits. So it is also worth mentioning that there are two possible ways of third-party conformity assessment. The first one is product-focused. The assessment strictly evaluates the technical design and security of specific products. And process-focused. The assessment evaluates the general, I would say, organization, overall quality management system, like how you design, how you test and manufacture the product. And once it approved, the second one, the organization can declare the conformity for all of the products under the certified process. So here you can find a difference. If you need to put only one product on the market, it makes sense and easy to implement product-focused third-party risk assessment. If you produce the amount of different series of the products, it makes sense to do one-time process-focused conformity assessment and then place different products on the market based on these processes defined in the conformity assessment road. Now about the software product, and it gets a little nuanced. The basic rule: software that runs on the user's device, something they can download or install, including local installed clients, that's in the scope. Software that just runs remotely and you access it through the interface like browser, that's generally not in the scope. So the typical web-based solution, software as a service application, is generally outside of the scope of the CRA, but not in the same manner. There is a catch. Remote cloud side components can still be in the scope of CRA if they qualify as what the regulation calls the RDPS. This is a remote data processing solution. How to identify whether a system is an RDPS? You can classify it so if only both of the following conditions are met. First, this solution has to be necessary for one of the product's functions. And the second, it has to be built by manufacturer or for the manufacturer under its responsibility. Let me explain what I'm talking about here. Let's imagine we have a smart door lock and you can open door via your phone and this smart door lock. When you tap on lock button on your phone, that command in most cases passes through some server parts to reach the device, and without that cloud processing, the feature simply won't work. So there, the first criteria is clear: meet the product can do its job without this backend part. So if we are talking about smart door lock, without this backend part, it won't even open the door. So compare it to the cloud service that only gathering some kind of usage statistic. The same door lock, just gathering the statistic of how much time you open the door per day. This is also the cloud-based backend solution, but this is not essential for proper functionality of the device. So I hope you understand the clear difference between the two of these. And the same logic applies to the second criteria. The software has to be built by the device manufacturer or built for the manufacturer under its responsibility. So if we are talking about components or services like Google Analytics that may be used for gathering these analytics, this example is not not the manufacturer solutions. This falls outside of the scope of the CRA. But it's worth to mention that it is still important to handle this analytics, even if it is not designed by the manufacturer, to handle this through the proper supplier management process. But it is not a part of the CRA essential requirements, I would say. So the cloud does not automatically, using the cloud service, backend services in the application in your device doesn't automatically means that it is out of the scope. So you have to look at whether the cloud piece is essential to your product's functions or not or, but and built for by the manufacturers and or under the control of manufacturers. Now let's talk about legacy products. First of all, the CRA vulnerability reporting requirements apply to any in-scope products still on the European Union market, starting from September 2026. So no matter when it was originally placed on the European Union market, before or after CRA acceptance, it means that vulnerability and incident reporting are entirely applicable for legacy devices, starting from 2026. As for these wider CRA requirements, as general principles is straightforward. If the product was placed on the market before December 11, 2027, and you leave it without substantial modifications, it is generally not included in CRA. So the natural question is what counts as substantial change of the device? And the regulations give basically for tests to identify whether modification is substantial. The modification is treated as substantial if it is introduced, for example, new threat vectors. So it may be a new interface, new connections, or new external dependency, like some new way in for potential attacker. The change, it may be a change that enables new attack scenarios, like a kind of attack that simply was not possible before, but it is possible after this change introduced. So this some kind of substantial modification. The other criteria that modification is substantial if it is upgrades the likelihood or impact of an already known attack. Like you know about some kind of attack, and this change making this attack easy to implement or harder to detect. So this substantial change as well. If the answer to any of those is yes, you're probably looking at substantial modifications. And after such a change, the product will be fully in the scope of CRA, and you need to perform for such kind of legacy product. After such kind of change, you need to perform conformity assessment as well. Now let me explain this scene with harmonized standards, because this is actually good news. It is the part that makes compliance easier, not harder. Here the concept. The CRA sets out these essential cybersecurity requirements, but they are written in fairly high level, and as usual it happens with different regulations. They tell you what to achieve, but not exactly how to do it. So the European standardization bodies take those requirements and translate them into detailed technical specification. And these standards represent this technical specification. So here is the thing called presumption of conformity. Once you build your product to that specific standard, you are presumed to comply with the requirements it covers. So you don't have to separate prove conformity for the part, define it in the standard. The standard does the heavy lifting for you. So building to harmonized standards is genuinely the path of least resistance. It is the difference between let me interpret this legal requirements myself and hope it is done in proper way versus I follow the recognized standard or harmonized standard and I am presumed to be compliant. So you don't need to self-create a path to how to implement the requirements. You can use the harmonized standard that identifies some kind of part of CRA or fully in CRA and pass the audit or implement this standard, and it means that you comply with CRA automatically. It was saying that for now, as for August 2026, there are no officially accepted harmonized standard list, but some of the potential candidates you can see on this slide. So in a nutshell, by applying some standard in the list, you potentially cover these specific requirements in the CRA by default. Now here's something that increasingly relevant nowadays. What happens when your product is also an AI system? Because maybe you heard about another heavy weight European Union regulation named AI Act and how it is mapped with the CRA. And there's a smart bit of design here. If you meet the CRA essential cybersecurity requirements, that automatically creates a presumption of compliance with the cybersecurity section in the AI Act. This is basically article number 15 of AI Act. The important note here that CRA covers the technical security and vulnerability side. The AI Act still requires completely separate proof of everything that is not cyber. So you still have to demonstrate things like AI accuracy, bias prevention, transparency, human oversight. So this is something the CRA does not cover at all. So the mental model is the CRA handles the security dimension of your AI system, but the AI specific obligations, those are separate track you still have to run. All right, so let's get into what you actually have to do with all of this and Cyber Resilience Act. So regulation like CRA are very high level, and specific controls will depend highly on the product itself, and you can find it from the harmonized standard. There are a lot of harmonized standards that relate to absolutely different products. So here I tried to identify some general, let's say, pivotal sections that needs to be implemented anyway. The core requirements include security by design and by default. It means that products have to ship with built-in security architecture and security default configuration right out of the box and starting from the day one. Second, no known vulnerabilities. This is one actually a legal mandate. A product has to be free of known exploitable vulnerabilities when it first enters to the market. Moreover, regulation identified the strict requirements to fast process with clearly defined timelines of security incident and vulnerability handling process. So you can't only ship a product with a security hole and fix it later. Even more, if the product is already on the market, you need to carefully track it and identify any kind of vulnerabilities. And this is practically named an incident handling. It should be not one-time activity, but ongoing obligation for the product's entire support period. First of all, you need to define the support period, and during this support period, you have an obligation to do this incident handling process. So you have to run a documented vulnerability incident management process that means maintain a software bill of material, having coordinated disclosure policy, providing a public contract channel where people can report any kind of security issues to you, and doing some regular security testing and so on. This is a program you have to operate continuously. The false automatic updates, security updates have to reach users free of charge. These updates recommended to be separate from the feature updates. Ideally, they should be installed automatically with a clear notice so user know what is happening or the scenario what to do with these updates. So from my experience, just to summarize this update, automatic updates, this section creates a lot of complexity, and especially if we are talking about hardware products and hardware legacy products. Most of the manufacturers never track their clients' list and does not have any kind of contracts with the importers about the contact points and how to deliver these automatic updates. Underneath those 4 pillars, the regulation spells out more specific technical requirements like access controls, availability and resilience, data confidentiality and integrity, limiting the impact your product can have on other systems, secure monitoring, login, data minimization, secure erasure, and so on. There are a lot of essential requirements about that need to be implemented. But if you touch the security controls previously, no one of these will surprise you. This is a solid, I would say, essential engineering practice. So the CRA is not asking you to reinvent any exotic stuff or implement some overhead. It is taking like practice that multiple teams already follow and making them mandatory and auditable, I would say. So if your engineering culture is mature on security, a lot of this is what you already do. And the main point in this case may be just creating and documenting the appropriate record and evidences. And I can't stress this enough. With regulatory compliance, you can be doing everything right, but if you can demonstrate it, you are not compliant. Talking about documentation for key pieces here, CE marking. This is actually what you can see on physical products in Europe. Under the CRA, it now also signifies cybersecurity controls and cybersecurity conformity, and it's mandatory for compliant products entering the European market. The CRA also requires a comprehensive technical documentation list, like the risk assessment, the design documentation, security setup, instruction for end users, and security configuration changes, and etc. So it is not just internal documentation. So like internal documentation for regulators, part of the manufacturer's obligation is telling directly to your users how to run a product securely, how to properly configure it, maintain, and etc. Software bill of material. This is the one I keep coming back. The organization have to maintain a detailed machine-readable inventory of all their software components, covering at minimum top-level dependencies. The reason it's a matter for such in practice, where next big vulnerability drops in some widely used library, the companies with good SBOM will know in their short time whether they affected and how it's affect the products. So this is a matter of the next tile, I would say, incident reporting system. You need to have a mechanism in place to hit those reporting deadlines for actively exploited vulnerabilities and severe incidents. So when something happens at 2 a.m., you need to have a proper process, the contacts, the templates ready in advance to properly manage this kind of incident. CRA has a pretty defined time framing for such kind of activities. So that's a lot. but the regulatory compliance is much easier with a clear strategy and experienced support. And at start, we defined the main milestones that could help companies through this whole journey. A few concrete ways you can see on the slide. So we have started with the CRA readiness and gap assessment. We'll look whether you are today versus where you need to be, and give you an honest picture about any potential gaps related to CRA and any other regulatory requirements. That's usually the right first step, because it turns this whole abstract regulation into a concrete to-do list for the target products. We help next we help with the product strategy. Basically, that's answering the question, is my product in scope, and which risk tier does it land in, so organization can clearly identify the conformity assessment approach. The output of this activity is the detailed roadmap to successfully, after successful implementation this roadmap, we may be sure that conformity will be passed. Then we help to build cybersecurity management system. These are the actual process and structures that easily integrate into existing product lifecycle. This ensures security as a continuous process, not just a one-time activity, and having this system in place proves your development process is compliant, and it allows you to easily scale those security controls for other products in the portfolio. So the last one, we are doing a security and compliance training, and because ultimately all of this we are talking about only works if your team understand the requirements and make them part of this daily routine of the product development lifecycle. And for those eager to delve deeper into Cyber Resilience Act, we have an additional resource available. Please feel free to visit our webpage. You will find some more materials on this topic there. And if you need specific training for the team, please follow the QR code. If you have any other questions about CRA or other regulation, please contact me directly and I'll be happy to support. Thank you and see you later.